All right, we're back. We're back. Syracuse with another great performance from an offensive perspective, right? From a Cal McCord is locked in. Like, I mean, he's dialed in. Like I said last week, the assortment of weapons that he has probably are not as revered as what he had at Ohio State. But if they continue to perform like this, I mean, we're gonna have to, we're gonna start asking some questions. Obviously, I think a Brandon Gadsden is probably obviously better than any tight end that he played with at Ohio State. And obviously, the receivers are, with the receivers. I think LaQuint Allen, he probably could have, the way he's playing right now, he probably could have, played at Ohio State. Probably, got some snaps, but it's not. There's no need to compare and contrast the rosters. But this was a game that I felt very confident that Syracuse could win. I really did because I thought that the weapons that they had, Georgia Tech hadn't played against a team this early in the season that has what they have, and I think they took care of business. Obviously, the biggest question mark they had going into this game was what they were going to do to replace Marlo Wax and how they were going to turn around and fix the run defense that just was putrid last week. And the answer was, let's just move Fidel Diggs in, right? Let's just move Fidel Diggs in. And listening to Coach Brown's post game presser, that's essentially what he talked about. And I'm paraphrasing, but he spoke about, you have a guy in Fidel Diggs where you have guys that are used to hitting a linebacker that's 220, maybe 230, somebody like that, 6'1", 6'2". But you have a guy in Fidel Diggs who's 6'5", 260. And just watching the game, um, he's a great athlete because, again, as Coach Brown said, he's not a natural linebacker, right? He's an edge guy. But for what they needed him to do this particular game, I thought he did it well. There was one particular play in general where I think it was either third down or fourth down where he literally crashed down. The guard was pulling. He literally ran into the guard, like pushed the guard down, made the tackle in the backfield. And I said, "Yes, man. Yeah, this is different. This is a lot different than what transpired, against Ohio. You know what I mean?" But I don't know if this is going to be a long term type of thing. The way Coach Brown kind of was speaking about it was more so kind of just what they needed for this game because obviously that was Georgia Tech's intent to come in and try to establish the run and then build onto the passing game after that. And so kudos to Elijah Robinson and the rest of his staff for putting a game plan together that limited a very explosive running Georgia Tech team. Obviously, excuse me, Hank King got two crazy quarterback runs. Obviously, the first one where he literally, to me, should have been stopped in the backfield, but kudos to him for being able to put his hand down and keeping that knee off the ground and just running and just whatever. It got to the point to where I was saying, I was tweeting out, I was like, bro, like Haynes King is a running back playing quarterback, you know what I mean? But because that's kind of the talking points that people have when certain quarterbacks seem to run a little bit better than they pass, but in other instances, it's not the same thing. But yeah. So I said that. But anyway, kind of looking at my notes. And Coach Brown spoke on this right because they asked him about it in terms of Georgia Tech coming back. And his answer was, well, more or less what they were trying to do is they wanted to put Georgia Tech in a situation to where, y'all kind of just run the ball. You know what I mean? We're not trying to let y'all just throw the ball down the field or whatever like that. Y'all just kind of run the ball. And it kind of bit them. Just looking at it, they were up 31-14 with 8 minutes left in the game. And obviously, we understand what the final score of the game was. Now, obviously, it wasn't just what they did defensively because we know that onside kick was surrendered because, again, as Coach Brown said, one of the guys that was supposed to be tasked with being a blocker, he kind of got out of position. The ball ended up hitting him. Georgia Tech ended up, being able to touch, get the ball because if it hits the receiving team player and they don't secure it before 10 yards, it becomes a live ball. So you had that, and Georgia Tech took advantage of that. But kudos again to just Kyle McCord being calm, cool, and collected in that situation. It was a third down situation. I'm just looking at the play, and prior to the play, I'm like, man, they got to get the ball to Pena, but he threw it to Gas, and I said, okay, well that's just as good. You know what I mean? And that was able to preserve the drive, and then they were able to get the ball to LaQuint Allen, and that was the end of the game. But it was a good game. But I think obviously Syracuse thoroughly dominated Georgia Tech. Again, this is one of those situations where the game is not as close as the score indicated. I think Syracuse thoroughly dominated Georgia Tech. Again, I don't want to get into the hypotheticals, but again, you got two touchdowns that in reality, those type of touchdowns are not supposed to happen. 9 times out of 10, those two Haynes King touchdown runs, they don't happen in the game. So you kind of take those aspects away, then the final score of this game really should have been, you know, 31-14, right? So I think they thoroughly dominated the game. Like I said, playing loose kind of gave Georgia Tech life. But again, like I said, we can always go back to the onside kick, where obviously if they would have been able to recover that, then the game obviously still wouldn't have been as close either. McCord throws for another 4 touchdowns. I think he and Cam Ward probably have to be the leaders in the ACC right now in terms of passing touchdowns. Um, and another thing, LaQuint Allen's football IQ, because I think a lot of people kind of overlook that aspect. On that last play of the drive, or the last drive of the game, should I say, he broke that run. Now, most guys, they probably would have kind of either maybe tried to get more, or they would have ran out of bounds. But kudos to LaQuint Allen for seeing, look, it's open field. I'm understanding the time, what's going on. Yeah, I don't have enough timeouts to kind of change this, so I'm gonna fall down in bounds. The clock is still gonna go right now. So kudos to him for seeing it, because I've watched games before where guys have been in that situation and they have run out of bounds. Like, they've run out of bounds. Now you have a situation where you have guys that may fall short, or go ahead and score a touchdown if they have that. And based on the way that the opposition has it, they are left enough time on the clock to go down and score, right? So, but kudos to LaQuint Allen. And speaking of Allen and Nixon, had a solid game combined rushing collectively together. They had 121 yards on the ground, with LaQuint Allen getting the majority of those particular yards. But I did like the way that they used Nixon in this game. Early on, there was a play where they had Nixon and Allen in the backfield. They kind of faked it. They faked it to Allen, and Nixon kind of went out on the wheel route wide open. Cal McCord hit him. So I kind of like that particular wrinkle that Coach Nixon has added right there. So hopefully moving forward, that is something that they do see, because the thing of it is if they have a lot of guys, a lot of playmakers on this offense, and the more that they can get these guys involved, the more teams cannot just solely focus on Randy Gatson and Pena, because again, today was a game where, like I said, a multitude of guys caught the ball. Same thing as last week as well. But just seeing the involvement of Nixon a little bit more in this particular offense, to me, that says that they're confident what he's able to do. He's a reliable target out of the backfield. Same thing as LaQuint Allen, right? So that's going to be interesting to see how that goes. They have a bye week this particular week, so they'll be off this upcoming week. So I'm sure they're going to go back and address some of the things that they have, and they have to get ready for a Stanford team. So it's going to be interesting to see how they go. Another good thing that they've avoided is no turnovers, right? You don't want to put yourself in a situation where you're giving your opponent extra downs or extra possessions because you weren't able to take care of the ball. So kudos to Syracuse for being able to take care of the ball. I spoke about it, weapons galore. The block punt, right? When I saw it on the replay, kind of the way that it seemed like that Georgia Tech had the advantage even before the ball was snapped, because they had two guys that were flanking the center, and the two guys on side of the center, there were just gaps right there. And obviously, I'm sure probably in their pass or in the blocking sequence of it, those two guys probably can come through, because obviously you can't hit the guy that's snapping the ball, because obviously his head is down. So he's pretty much off limits, and that goes for field goals as well as as well as punts. But those two guys that were supposed to block those guys that came through, they have to get stronger at the point of attack. They just have to. You can't have, especially if it's a close game, which it ended up being a close game, which it shouldn't have been. But if it's a really, really close game, plays like that are the type of plays that get you beat. So, obviously, so I'm sure Coach Brown, they're going to talk about that because he took sole responsibility for the special team blunder in terms of the what you call it, onside kick. So I'm sure they're going to address that. And but like I said again, just a solid performance, but they can't have those type of lapses. Just can't have those type of lapses. Now, I understand what Coach Brown said, but hey, man, you gotta. Georgia Tech was the ranked team, right? And you do not. There's no need to give them life. I know this firsthand as a Miami fan, watching us not put Georgia Tech down when we should have put them down, and we ended up losing on the last second touchdown. But again, Cal McCoy, cool, calm, and collected. But one thing I want to note on, man, is some of the things that I heard, or one of the things that caught my eye in the post game presser, because one of the announcers asked Coach Brown about it, and I missed this, right? But I don't really listen to the midweek, media coverage of the team. I just mostly watch the game, and I watch the obviously the post game to kind of see what the coach was talking about. But it brought up about what Coach Brent Key said, and Coach Brown basically said, well, yeah, we took it personal, because obviously again last week I talked about how Coach Brown spoke about how Coach Key coached him, and I guess I misspoke. I had to misspeak. So kudos for saying things that Coach Brown didn't say, because based on what he said today, I made an inaccurate statement. And the inaccurate statement that I made was that he has spoken to Coach Key about helping him with being coaching. But based on what I heard today, well, they ain't got no conversation, because Brent Key basically said, I was on one side of the ball, he was on the other. I don't really know him, right? So Coach Brown said, okay, well, that rubbed in the wrong way. And then the other thing that rubbed in the wrong way was he said, this is not about X's and O's. This is about physical football. And so Coach Brown said, hey, well, look, this is what we're going to be about. We're going to be a physical team. And when you look at the game, they were physical. Like this is not just a finesse type of show. Like I said, they got weapons galore. They can throw it out the pinion. They can throw it out the gas. But if they need to, they can turn around and hand the ball off to LaQuint Allen. They can give it to Nixon. And Fidel Diggs, again, with some of the physical plays that he made today along the line of scrimmage, they will hit you in the mouth on defense as well, right? And so bro, this is a good team, right? Obviously, saying they go undefeated, that's a long shot. The schedule that they have, again, one thing about college football right now, if you're looking at it, nothing is for sure. Like you just can't look at a schedule right now and say, "Oh yeah, we're gonna run the table." It's a lot of uncertainties going on, but I like the foundation that they have. I like what Coach Brown is preaching. I like the staff that they have and what they're doing, and also the fact that they were able to bring in some extra talent to kind of help bring forth the message and the foundation that they're trying to do, right? So, and that's what you have to do. You set a standard, and they're setting a standard. And like I said, I think most diehard Syracuse fans, I think they're happy with what's going on. Obviously, it's still work to be done, but I think they can be happy about what's going on right now. But again, if you're up 34-14, 8 minutes left in the game, you cannot let that team get life. You gotta treat it like a fire. You gotta make sure it's smoldered. You gotta make sure it's completely out, because the minute that you think it's out and you walk away from it, you come back outside, it's blazing up again. That's kind of essentially what we saw in this Georgia Tech game. They ended up blazing up because, again, if Kyle McCoy does not complete that third down pass to Randy Gatson, he drops it, or if it's a holding or anything like that, we could potentially be talking about Syracuse blowing a 31-14 lead when they were up. Blowing a lead being up 31-14 with 8 minutes left in the game. So I know what you said, Coach Brown, in the post game presser, but hey, you cannot have that happen, right? Especially a team that is playing like Georgia Tech, right? Because they, again, like I said, they came in. Brent Key, again, doing a good job down there at Georgia Tech. They feel just as confident about what they're doing as y'all did. But y'all just so happen to be the better team, the more physical team, but just that lapse. Those couple of lapses made this game from a scoreboard perspective look a lot closer than what it was. But with that being said, man, like I said, since they have a bye week this upcoming week, I don't necessarily know what I do in terms of a post game presser, but I guess I kind of search the media and kind of see what's going on. With that being said, man, Syracuse 2-0. Um, Plenty of season left, but if they continue at this particular rate, they very well could be in contention to be one of the teams that are talked about playing for the ACC championship because I think they're playing just that well right now. Them in Miami, head and shoulders the two best teams in ACC right now. Head and shoulders the two best teams in ACC right now. And the good thing about it is they get to play each other at the end of the year. So if both teams are playing or continue to play like this, we're looking for a great showdown at the end of the season. But again, it's a lot that can go on between game 2 and game 12, right? But I'm just gonna sit back and enjoy the action. But with that being said, man, like, share, subscribe, comment, and hey, Fran Brown, you're doing a good job.